Hello everyone. Here we are again, and let's talk about the story of a Japanese soldier who stayed 30 years on a Philippine island and forest, who thought that the war was still going on even when his fellow soldiers were dead. How did he survive for 3 decades in this area? If you are new to my channel, click the subscribe button and notification bell to keep you updated on stories like this one. Let's go.
Lingayen Gulf, about 100 miles north of Manila. We thought we'd be moving right into the teeth of Jap resistance, but we were wrong. That was to come later. We pushed on down the valley toward Manila, cleaning out little pockets of resistance where we found them. Out ahead of us, Air Force and Navy planes were softening up the way. We moved cautiously forward, wondering what had happened to the enemy. And for a while there, it looked like we were tourists having ourselves a real ball. Along the way, one of the GIs picked up an innocent-looking piece of paper, which turned out to be a Japanese field order. It stated, "All Filipinos found on the field of battle were subject to immediate execution." This applied to all Filipinos in Manila. Filipino guerrillas brought in reports that American and Allied prisoners were starving and being mistreated in the city. So we stepped up the pace in the outskirts of Manila and finally established contact with the enemy. But we soon lost it, and we realized that the Japs were withdrawing to the heart of the city. At Grace Park, where the monument stands, snipers took potshots at us and slowed down our advance somewhat. And the only satisfaction I recall here was that my outfit was the first...
During the Second World War, the Japanese Imperial Army invaded Asia, including the Philippines. 4 years later, the American forces came to end their invasion. The news has spread about their surrender, but because the Japanese soldiers were already scattered, so many were not aware about it, especially those who were in the mountains. One of them was Lieutenant Hiroo Onada. He did not believe that the war was over, and spent 30 years as a guerrilla in Lubang Island, located in Occidental Mindoro. Onoda was not an ordinary soldier. He was one of the intelligence officer, trained in guerrilla tactics. Consequently, he was sent as a spy in the Philippines. When he arrived here, he was assigned in Lubang Island, and his main mission here was to check the route and movements of U.S. ships. What's good about Lubang is that it is near the threshold of Manila Bay, so anyone who went in and out here can be seen easily. That means that he was in a strategic position. And with him who lived in the mountains was Corporal Shoichi Shimada, Private Yuichi Akatsu, and Private First Class Kinchiki Kojika. And for a Japanese soldier, the emperor has the authority over them, and to engage in a war is a mission and holy. And this was the instruction given to him by his commanding officer, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi, to be faithful to the task given, and to continue fighting. They survived in the forest, by eating bananas, and coconuts. They often kill anyone who accidentally went to their place, assuming that they were enemies. They often kill them for food. 30 Filipinos had lost their lives in a span for 3 decades because of this. One of Onoda's companions surrendered in 1950, and another 2 was killed in an encounter with the police officers in a search party in the mountains in separate years. One was in 1954, and the other was in 1972. And Lieutenant Onoda was the only one left in Lubang Island. When it was declared that the war was over, the government sent helicopters and dropped leaflets on mountains and forests, and what was stated here was the surrender order from General Tomoyuki Yamashita of the 14th Area Army, saying that the war was over. But the remaining Japanese soldiers didn't believe, because they thought it might just be a propaganda by the Americans. Onoda was declared dead, assuming he was killed in the war. But a Japanese student adventurer who's looking for him found him in Lubang Island. The student's name was Norio Suzuki. Suzuki explains to Onoda, his compatriot, that the war was over. But Onoda refused to go back with him to their country. He said he would not leave unless his superior commanding officer told him to do so. Suzuki returned to Japan and told the government about Onoda's conditions. An emperor of Japan tracked down his commanding officer, wherein, on that time already retired in service, and working in a bookstore. So, Suzuki came back, accompanied by a Japanese government official, also his brother, and his commanding officer, former Major Yoshimi Taniguchi. They even brought photos of Onoda's family. His commanding officer arrived in Lubang, wearing an old official uniform, for Onoda to recognize him, and did a hand salute. When his command officer read the order, and declared that the war was over, he then gave up. Onoda was taken to Manila, at the Malacañang Palace, and he surrendered to President Ferdinand V. Marcos his sword, and other weapons, and some paraphernalias. He was given by the President of the Philippines an amnesty for all the crimes he did. For not knowing that the World War II was over. He came back to Japan with the honor of fighting for his country, and was declared a national hero of Japan. In Lieutenant Hiroo Onada's story, the last Japanese soldier who surrendered, the love he showed, and the loyalty to his homeland, is something we should also emulate. Though he was regarded as a hero in his country, many residents of Lubang are still mourning up until now for the dreadful thing he and his companion did to their loved ones. Are you in favor about the decision of former President Marcos that gave him an amnesty and was justified for all the crimes he did because he didn't know that war was over? Or he should be thrown in prison because he is still responsible for the families who lost their loved ones? Just comment your thoughts below. Until next time.